Hello everyone, very good afternoon. I hope you are keeping safe and everyone is excited to join machine learning for microbiology workshop, which I hope Dr. Shakra and the other organizer, they have done very good publicity for that as well. And this is really good to see these efforts at the national gross level. So yeah, my name is Dr. Mustansar. I am an associate professor of machine learning in University of East London. I lead the program of artificial intelligence at my universities, and I do research in various areas of machine learning. So today I would be briefly talking about machine learning, various types of machine learning and how they have helped microbiology, and what are the areas in which machine learning can be applied, and what are the main steps or the tools which can be used to crack the various areas of microbiology. So bear with me. Let me share my screen. It would be a second. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen now. Let me just take the pen and we will start. Okay, welcome everyone again. We would be covering machine learning for microbiology, and more specifically, I would be talking about machine learnings, their types, some examples, microbiology perspective, some application spectrum. Model building is very, very important because these are the main steps how you do machine learning, some tools you can use for machine learning, and then of course summary. So first, let's start. What is machine learning? So what do you think? What is machine learning? If I ask you a simple question, uh, what is your imagination? In fact, you use machine learning in everyday's life, and this is true for all of us. When you type something in any browser, it doesn't have to be um, any search engine. It doesn't have to be Google. For example, in this case, I'm searching machine learning UET Texla, and they gave me a couple of results for that. And in fact, at the background, the algorithms which produce these results, they are machine learning based algorithm. In this specific case, they have the Google's proprietary algorithm, which is PageRank. If you, of course, every one of us has mobile phones and we use the digital photos. So if you ever wonder why your phone recommend you to tag certain friends or your family members. So because they have the intelligence notion embedded into them using machine learning. So these tagging softwares, if I'm just writing it, these tagging softwares, they are again machine learning based. They are again machine learning based. And this is one of the tasks of what machine learning can do in today's life. Spam filtering, all of us, we use emails, and sometimes, there is a spam folder, and the emails, they are automatically categorized as spam. So how your email client, they know that email you are going to receive is spam or not spam? Again, the technique which is embedded to give them intelligence is based on machine learning, which given on the features of the emails, they can classify them as spam or not spam. Okay, again, this is a very typical example of machine learning. So as I have given you some examples, but there are various examples. So the application spectrum of machine learning is enormous. Like in data mining, as we can see web click data, medical records, biology, and various applications like NLP, ranging from NLP to computer vision, where computer can see something, autonomous helicopters, driverless cars, handwritten recognition. So the application spectrum is very huge, right from the common task you do every day, for example, uh, spam or not spam, ranging to extreme applications like driverless cars or the autonomous helicopters. Okay, so what is machine learning? So in a nutshell, people say the machine learning is the design and study of intelligent agents or the softwares. And this is not just the design of softwares. The idea is these softwares, they can make decisions based on the data or based on the experience. So they are intelligent in a sense that they can behave on their own and they can make some decisions based on the data. So this is very generic diagram for machine learning system. Here, usually you represent your input as X and your output as Y. And you have some hidden parameters or some of the parameters machines try to learn, the software try to learn. And based on these parameters, they can, given any unknown sample, unknown test data, they can categorize them into one of the predefined categories. So the whole idea of machine learning is to learn this relationship, okay, is to learn the relationship between X and Y using these parameters, these parameters. Okay, so the whole idea is to learn the relationship between X and Y's using these parameters. Let's just give you a glance of the application spectrum of machine learning. Again, the spectrum is very huge, but we would be focusing on some of the application areas of microbiology. So before that, let's quickly go to types of machine learning, because if you don't know what is machine learning, what are the various types or the main categories of machine learning, you wouldn't be getting a lot of benefit from this area. So I have tried to make it very simple so you can grasp the idea of machine learning without going into too much mathematical detail. So there are three main types of machine learning. One is called supervised learning. And second is unsupervised learning. The third is called reinforcement learning. So let's quickly go through each one of them and see how they work. So supervised learning, the first type, is beneficial when you have the label data. When you have label data, what is the meaning of label data? It would be clear in a minute. And given that label data, you want to predict some output. So think about it as learning with the teacher, okay? Because the label data is there to teach you something, and learning with some mentor or some teacher is equivalent to saying supervised learning. Think about this typical problem in a banking system. It's a very typical example of machine learning. In a banking system, they want to develop some software. Of course, they can't uh, do the decisions based on the human only due to the enormous amount of applications they are getting every single day. So they have some software which takes some samples, and based on the historical data, they learn something, and then they can predict either they are going to approve loan for someone or they want to disapprove the loan for someone. So here is the idea. You have some data, and these things, they are called the features. Okay, they are called the features, or the input features to be precise. And they have some classes, which usually we call Y as well. And in this case, there are only two classes. So this is binary classification problem, yes and no. Only two classes. And so the whole idea of supervised learning, given these labels, so this is your training set. This whole thing is provided you to learn. This is your training set. So given this training set, you want to capture the relationship between X and Y. So you want to see how the output is produced from input. And once you have learned that, then given a new customer assume there is a new customer and they fill some application online and it comes to the bank, and the bank has this software which can give you the decision based on that. So the idea is you want to make a decision for the unknown sample. So here is the unknown sample, a person which is new and they have applied for some loan, let's assume, and you have the model which is a learned model, and based on that they can predict the sample saying yes or no. Okay, so this is the whole idea of supervised learning, that they learn some relationship from the data, and then given the unknown data they can classify that, they can make decision for that. Various other examples, this is image data. For example, assume the problem is we want to see if the given image is indoor or the outdoor. So where are the features in this case? Because previously the features were quite obvious, age and all these things. But in the image case, what are the features? So in images, the features are usually very simple. So you take like the edges of the house, like the amount of light or the saturation and various other small features. So to do that, these classical image processing algorithms, they can get these features very easily. And based on these features, you can learn something. Once your classifier is trained, then given any image, so this is a testing image, okay, the image we don't know, we feed this to the trained classifier and they give us the prediction saying this particular image is the outdoor image. Okay, so this is a typical example of how images are classified based on machine learning. So let's move to the second type now. What do you think? Is this supervised or unsupervised? Of course, you can see the classes. Okay, there are two classes. So the classes in this case are circle and some other plus or what is this fancy symbol. And you have two features, x1 and x2. It doesn't matter what are the features, but the idea is you are plotting some data in two-dimensional space, and you have two kinds of classes here, circle and plus. So this is supervised learning, okay, classical supervised learning, and this is called binary classification. Binary classification, okay. If the classes they are two, the problem is called binary classification. If you have classes which are more than two, it is called multi-class classification, okay, multi-class classification. So what do you think about this typical problem? In this case, you are visualizing the data over some space, in this case, two-dimensional space, and you don't have any classes among the data. So the data is the same. So this particular category where the data don't have any classes among them is called unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning, because we can't see the classes among them. Okay, all the data is the same. So there are various examples for that, why we use unsupervised learning. One typical example is, let's assume you have a number of people in some space. Assume in Twitter, we have a lot number of people with various demographics, and the market, they want to see the different groups of the people. Okay, assume there is a campaign and they want to see what are the types of people or the characteristic of the people who are similar to each other. Okay, so in this particular case, they can use unsupervised learning to find grouping among them. And the whole idea is they find similar people. Okay, they somehow say, okay, these looks like women, or they have the red color. Okay, let's make in one of the cluster, second cluster, third cluster. Okay, so the whole idea is in this segmentation problem, they have certain features which are related to each other. So the idea of unsupervised learning is to find the structure in the data and to segment or cluster the data based on the common data points. Various examples of that might be looking very simple, but this particular example, the unsupervised learning, it was widely used by political campaigns like Donald Trump. They used these kind of algorithms to win the elections. So there's a huge conspiracy theory as well that they can segment the Twitter based on various features where the sentiment is negative, and they were doing campaigns over those specific states. So there are various applications, not just uh, the simple ones. So here is the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning. In supervised learning, you have the data, okay? X and Y's are given, okay? And then you want to find the mapping between them. In unsupervised learning, you don't have any classes. Y is not given, okay? So the class labels of the data are unknown. So depending on your application of microbiology, you can think where your problem lies. The first thing you should be thinking, if this is a supervised learning or unsupervised learning. Once you know that, then go and dig down to that area. There's a third type, which is reinforcement learning. In fact, this is a difficult type, and I don't think there is any concrete example for the microbiology. So usually this area is used to train robotics, okay, robotics, and to boot the systems which are very, very new. So imagine um, you want to train this cat, okay? So there is a cat which is called agent in this case, or a program, and the cat has certain actions. She can somehow sit, and she can somehow walk as well. And for each action, there is a reward. There is a reward, and the reward is a fish. And assume we are giving reward to the cat when she walks. And if she is sitting, we don't give any reward. Okay. So in this particular example, after a couple of iteration, the cat would be able to learn that if she walks, then she get a reward, she get a fish. So she would be eventually learning from the experience, not from the data, from the experience. So this is very, very important to learn from the experience, that you don't have any data. You learn from the experience of by interacting with the environment, using your actions and getting some reward. Various applications like in robotics, you all know how report are trained. They are trained using the same scenario, reward system. And this is used in various applications when the system is new. So let's not go into details, but I don't think you need reinforcement learning, because the whole notion of reinforcement learning is beyond the scope what you should be doing. Okay, so let's take some examples. So here is one example which I found looks good to you. So here is the genetic data. Assume you have the individual person and you have their genes as well. So assume this is one person. So the columns here, they are the person. So assume this is one person. So let me draw this person. Okay, so this is one person, and oops, and assume, and the other column is the second person. Okay, it's a second person. Might be a bit different. So in this particular example, the columns, they are the individual, and the rows, they are showing the genes. They are showing the genes. So where each cell represent certain characteristics. For example, this cell might be representing that the person or the individual is prone to eating his vegetable. He or she likes vegetables. Okay, or might be in some other um, genetic area. We are saying they are very healthy. Let's assume the person which has these kind of genes, they are very healthy, they have healthy teeth, and so on. So there was a joke as well that if you don't eat your salad, somebody asks you, why you don't eat salad. Say genetically, I am not prone to that. Okay, so you can throw your problems to the genes if you want. But the whole idea is if you have these sort of genes, you want to cluster them together and you want to see that how I can map people into different genetic areas. Okay, so this is a typical task, of course. Once you would be knowing that, I can't see it here, but the whole idea is you can say, hey, this sum here somehow looks type 1, and might be this is type 2, might be this is type 3. This is just an example. Of course, you can have various types, but the whole idea is you can cluster individuals based on their genes. And the idea is to measure how much certain genes are expressed for each individual persons. You might be saying this category of persons, they have similar genes and they have same characteristics. So this is one typical area of microbiology where you can play with the genetic characteristics and use the algorithm for that. So what do you think in this particular problem, what algorithm you should be using? You have you have studied now supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. So what do you think where it should be lying? I hope you get the answer. This is unsupervised learning. Okay, unsupervised learning. And particularly the type you should be using is clustering. And where K means clustering is very, very famous. Let me just write here. People use K means clustering a lot. So in this particular example, you can use clustering to cluster or the group similar users based on their genes. And then you can go into that area and you can use various things. For example, you can do precise medicine for these people or precision medicine, which is another area. You can do various other things based on the characteristics of these people. I hope this is clear. Let's move forward and take what is ML and microbiology. Uh, this was taken from a paper. I was just reading that. You can just have a link over there. So the idea is, I'm not sure what they were trying to achieve because I'm not sure about the data, but I just want to show you the mapping of the data. So they have this kind of data where they have two things now. One is the unique ID, which unique ID of the protein, and they have various features. Okay, so let's assume these are the features, which is called X. So you have X1 and X2 and various other types of features. And based on these features, you want to predict the vaccine candidate for that. Okay, so again, you have Y, and Y in this case is yes and no. So this is a binary classification problem. Okay, and this is supervised learning because you have been given X and Y. So this is supervised learning. And the problem is exactly the same as I showed you for the bank fraud system or the bank loan system, that you want to train some algorithm, supervised learning algorithm based on these features. And the whole idea is if there is some unique protein ID, you want to see, can I use it for the vaccine purpose or I can't use it. Okay. So regardless, what is the application area? I want to give you the mapping of how you map your problem into machine learning. So think about the features you have and then use them to train your model. Once you have the model, then you can use that to predict anything else. So the paper seems good. Just have a look over this paper. And the whole idea is when a new data comes, so assume there's a new data, and you want to see a variable to be predicted for the new data. Okay, so you have their features, you feed these features to this trained model. So assume the model is trained, and then they would be providing you yes or no based on the machine learning algorithm. So there are various other applications. Again, I was reading this paper, highly recommended. Just have a look over that. My area is not microbiology. Okay, so I work in a broader spectrum of machine learning, but microbiology is looking very interesting to me. I would be looking to continue work over that. So if you have some data set and you want to work in machine learning, why not? We have good resources here, and we can produce good research outcomes and future projects as well. So these were just few of the applications. For example, to diagnose microorganism causing an infection disease in the patients. Okay, so in this case, the data was the images. Okay, so the images data, and they want to see what are the uh, which sort of microorganism they cause the infection disease in the patient. So again, this is an image classification problem, supervised learning, which would be the same as you classify an image as the outdoor or the indoor. So not a difficult problem, but the problem might be difficult once you want to get features from the image. Okay, so once you have the features from the image, so if you have the features, getting the machine learning model would not be very difficult. So feature engineering might be difficult here. Another problem is automating malaria diagnosis with image analysis. Again, feature extraction is very important and very difficult here. If you have these features, mapping these sort of problem is not an issue. Fecal parasite detection using trained model, differentiated scanned images of stain focus smear containing parasite from those containing no parasite. Okay, again, this looks very typical problem. There are a few words I even don't know seriously, but the whole idea is you have some scanned images. So this is your data. Okay, so this is your data. And the problem is you want to see containing parasite or not parasite. So this is supervised learning, and this is binary classification. You have two classes now. Once you have the features, mapping these sort of problems in machine learning is very simple. It's very simple, and you can easily get very good results. Drug discovery, which I think is very famous type, like this, the previous examples can be considered as a drug discovery, where you want to see the effectiveness of new drug. And then there are various other ongoing research areas which you should be looking, but for that, I am pretty sure you need huge resources. You need large number of GPUs, very good machine learning algorithms. So you need scalable platforms for that. The area is which is a significant challenge in the protein sequence of varying length as a unique set of features. So protein sequences is very challenging area, I would say, due to the number of resources you need, because the data is huge. The simple models, they can't cope with that. You might be needing deep learning algorithms, and then you need advanced GPUs or the power or the memory of the systems to do that. So just have a look over this paper, which I was just reading, and you will find various very good applications of machine learning in microbiology. So let me now show you how you can build some model. Okay, what are the steps you should be following while you are building some model? So again, these are the guidelines. You don't need to follow them, but typically these are the steps you take to build some model. So what do? You have these steps. One, you acquire the data. Okay, this is very important because identifying data sources is one of the difficult problem. So if you don't have the data, how machine learning will learn? So once you are identifying the data, retrieve all the data and get it from various sources. Okay, so if you have good data, consequently your model can be very good. So you need to have a lot of data. Second is prepare the data, where you say explore the data and pre-process the data. So again, these steps explore the data mean you need to see how they looks like if you draw them, if they have some charts, or how their samples are distributed, and so on. Or pre-process the data, for example, remove some outliers if there are a lot of outliers, or the samples which has values which are not looking valid, remove the noise, and you might have duplicates, and so on. So there are various cleaning steps you need to do before you go to the machine learning. So they are typically data modeling techniques. Okay, so as I was saying, after doing the exploring, so these are just the explanation of the previous step, like how you can explore the data. So you need to understand the nature of the data. So for example, if you plot some data, and if the plotting is like this one, you can easily see this is a Gaussian data. So let me not go into detail of Gaussian data, but the whole idea is it's a curve. It looks like a curve. I can't write. It looks like a curve where you have some mean and you have some standard deviation. And most of the data, they looks like this one. So you can do some preliminary analysis to understand the nature of the data. And then you can pre-process the data where you can clean the data. You can integrate um, it into various packages. So integration again means after cleaning the data, you want to make sure the data is in a comprehensive format. So again, everything in the pre-processing is again optional. If you think your data is already in a very good form, you don't need to do all these things. Once you have done these preliminary steps, then you do the analysis of the data. So in the actual analysis of the data, you select the analytical technique. So here the machine learnings come, where you go to the supervised learning or unsupervised learning. And in unsupervised learning, you go to various techniques as well. So you build the model based on the technique. And again, this is an active area that which technique to use. So simply selecting some technique might work, it might not work. So there are various ways to do that. In this short lecture, I can't go into each of them, but the idea is if the data is simple, use the simple techniques like k-nearest neighbors, decision trees. If the data is medium scale, try to use some powerful algorithms like sport vector machines. And if the data is huge, very huge, and then try to shift to the neural networks, like which is also called deep learning. So if the data is enormous, a lot of data, then deep learning or the deep neural networks, they works really well for that. And then communicate the results. Of course, this is very important, that the whole idea of machine learning is not just to get the accuracy. This is wrong to say that my model is 98% accurate. Okay, nobody will understand. You need to communicate these results to the higher management, saying, okay, what 98% means. Okay, so always link them into some business perspective. You might be saying, hey, I am discovering a new protein species or a drug, and this drug can give you that much profit. Okay, always try to link that in some business perspective, because this is what the industry needs. So of course there is the innovation. There are some innovations. You are saving lives, or you are doing some humanity. Um, you are dealing with the humanity, but at the same time try to link it with some business so you can have better uh, connections. So, and then we act over these results. So the whole idea is you do something that if you have found some drug which is good, then you can communicate these results to some industry partner, try to launch that medicine. So you act upon the results. So this is just the typical steps of machine learning. Like you take the data, you do some pre-processing, explore it. After doing that, you select the model, you apply the model, and you communicate your results. And this is very iterative. So once you will start doing machine learning, you will see you have to might be after analysis, you might need to go back, and or might be after analysis, you need to go back to the prepare. So this is very iterative, and these steps, they can keep going unless you are satisfied. Okay, so let's take some tools you can use. There are various tools in the market you can use for machine learning. Um, some of them, they are meant to be for purely data scientists, and some of them, they would be for layman as well. So there are various tools. Scikit-learn is very famous library in Python, but you need to learn Python for that. If you don't know Python, don't look into that. So Vika is very famous library. So I would be saying look into that, and you don't need a programming for that as well. Okay, so it's a very good graphical user interface where you can simply load the data and you can select the model you need. For example, you have some data and you want to see how to apply clustering over that. So you can load the data by simply selecting a button, and then you can select the clustering method using the classical GUI, and they would give you the results in various formats, like what is the accuracy of your model and how many clusters are there and so on. So definitely for your case, I would be saying use a Vika. Okay, but Vika is just a prototype tool. It might not scale very well if you have a lot of data. The peoples which are good in statistics, they can use R package. Again, this is not a programming tool, but this is good data analysis tool, very good data analysis tool. For those of you who want to do really actual machine learning and they want to, do it in a long run, they should be looking into some libraries. Might be scikit-learn is very, very good. Okay, so they should be looking into scikit-learn. And there are various others which I don't recommend at the moment because they are very difficult, like TensorFlow and Keras. Keras can deal with a lot of data. TensorFlow can deal with a lot of data as well. But for that, you need to be very good in programming. And as long as um, you are doing a big project with big resources, don't jump into these things. So the bottom line is you should be starting with Veka. Okay, all of you, they can use that. Please go to this link and download that. And this is a graphical user interface where you can do various initial simulations. Okay, so this is the summary of what we have covered today. So we have covered supervised learning, which is the one of the famous type. And I think in microbiology, you would be having a lot of applications in supervised learning. And unsupervised learning, for example, clustering, where you want to cluster the data based on certain things. We have seen how you can classify genes into certain clusters. And there are various applications, and still this is the open research area to explore. So what I would be suggesting, if you have some good group and you want to collaborate with us, let's collaborate over some open area. We are very good in machine learning, of course, but we don't know about microbiology. So that would be a win-win for both of these parties. So thank you very much. With that, I would be stopping the presentation. I hope you enjoyed that. For any question, please let me know. Thank you very much and see you then. Bye.